Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. Okay, today we have some grungy goodness going on. So I have this piece of watercolor card that is actually a leftover from a workshop that I did with the amazing Tracy Evans of All in Create. And in that workshop, we actually stenciled texture paste through this amazing stencil. I can't remember the name of it. It is one from All in Create, and I will try to link it as well as everything else that I've used downstairs in the description box. If I can't find the exact item, I will link something similar. So anyway, we had stenciled through this for Tracy's project, and then I took what was left on that stencil and I flipped it over, and essentially I printed that. So everything that you see there is the actual shape of the stencil, and it's just leftovers. I love that. I love printing with the stencil. That's probably my most favorite way. I mean, I'm sure there are other ways because I'm a stencil girl. I just love me some stencils, but I love to print them. I digress. I am using water as my main tool for this part of the project, but you can see I'm using a variety of fall colored inks. So again, I'll have them linked and listed downstairs as I'm able to find their names. I'm not even going to try to remember. I know there's some Rusty Hinge and some, I don't even know. I don't know. Wild Honey, whatever that one was. Yeah, we'll move on. I'm loving this color palette though. It warms my heart. It just makes me happy. I do wish that I would have left a little bit more white space, because white space creates that contrast that I love so much, that makes these mixed media grungy projects really stand out the way that I like them to. I don't always remember as I'm going. I get caught up in the moment, and it is what it is. I would encourage you, if you're going to do this, allow your project to dry on its own. You could see that ink moving around as I hit it with the heat tool. There's no right or wrong, right? It's not good or bad. It just depends on what you want. And I wanted a more natural look, but I didn't have the patience to wait. So, you pick and choose your battles. I still love this. If you didn't know that it would have been different, you wouldn't know that it would have been different. And I love it. So just I don't know, food for thought, if you will. Just if you have the time to let it dry naturally, I would encourage that. So, of course, more layers, right? Wet on wet blends, wet on dry layers. And I wanted the layered spots. And then I wanted the layered, I wanted the layered splatters. And here I want the layered spots, water drops. So they are very subtle. You almost don't see them. I should have zoomed in here so you could see, but I didn't. And here I'm coming in with just a few more. I wanted some more. I wanted them to be a little more pronounced, but really in the end, they're not. Here is where I resolve the white issue. Remember I said the white is what creates the contrast that gives these types of projects their pop. And I really like this way. So it's just white acrylic paint. Now, keep in mind that the inks that are already on there, the sprays, are water reactive. So as this wet medium, this wet paint, comes in contact with them, they do reactivate. So the paint doesn't stay white per se. It becomes a very, very soft version of the colors that are down there. So there are some places where there's less paint that it does, where there's less ink, that the white stays white. And also some places, as you can see that blop there in the top center, the places where there's more ink, and so there's more ink than there's more paint than there is ink, and so the white retains its color as well. So I chose to trim this panel down into 3 fairly equal pieces. They don't make the whole tag, but I don't mind that. I like to piece them together and come up with something unique and different. And so you can see that's exactly what I've done. I've trimmed up my panels into equal portions, and then I used the Tim Holtz die set to cut out my toppers as well as a base, and then I'm just going to layer them all up. Now, a place where I feel like I need to start improving and putting a little more focus when I'm making tags is the backside. My backsides are usually a mess, and it doesn't make me mad, but I just feel like if I'm going to step up my card making or my tag making, that probably is where I need to focus. And so not really sure in terms of a direction where I'm going to go with that, but that's just kind of on my radar for self-improvement, right? Because again, I never worry about perfection. That's not who I am. That I don't even believe that it exists. And excuse me, to be honest, it kind of drives me nuts when I'm watching someone else and they're so worried about getting everything just right that I feel like either the video or the project itself suffers, because I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch somebody put themselves down because something isn't perfect and then they strive so hard for something that's just not necessary when the real project, whatever it was going to look like without that strive for perfection, when it looks just fine, it looks beautiful. Anyway, I digress, and that's just my opinion. But yeah, anyway, and especially if you're doing something grungy like this, is okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm probably preaching to the choir anyway. So let's get back to it. You can see that I've used these fun decal edge scissors that are just, from my stash. I've mentioned them before. They're ages old, but I love them. So it's funny because old things become new again, right? And I use that corner puncher or corner rounder just to round out my corners. Again, it just gives them a layer of interest, something different. And I just think they're really fun. You can see where I use that gold glitter paper to kind of create a threshold, if you will, between the green toppers and then the base of each tag. And then of course I'm just coming in with a variety of different stamps and matching ink pads, or ink pads that match the sprays that I use to create the grungy backgrounds. And I'm just adding fun details to the background. I'm using swirls, I'm using circles, I'm using script, all kinds of different things, and just stamping them down where I think they make sense, or where they will make a difference, where the viewer will be able to see them or not, and I'm okay with it either way. Now I'm actually coming in with this skull stamp, as you can see, and he's very subtle in some places. You almost don't see him. And in fact, when you see the overall completed tags, all of this stuff in the background is just background. It's just background. And that's one of the reasons why I say don't stress it, don't sweat it, don't strive for perfection and get caught up in that, because it just becomes the background. It can be your focal point. It can be the reason for the project, if you will. But it even then, there's no reason to drive yourself crazy with striving for perfection. And so I kind of went back and forth, to be honest, if I wanted to just leave the tags the way they were, add some laces or trims to the top and just let them be. But I decided this might be a really fun way to bring in some of those larger kind of macabre stamps that I love but very seldom use, and I decided to go with that. So again, I'm using those coordinating ink pads, and I'm stamping my images out in those ink pads. There's no coloring on this. Everything is coordinating in color this time. I love the way these colors gradiate and they mix and blend. Now, I would encourage you, if you're going to do something like this, use a paper towel, use something to kind of blur out those hard edges, because otherwise you won't get the blend when you stamp. You're just going to get lines of demarcation, if you will, and it will just be very abrupt where the colors change. So I think this was really fun. I love the way those colors blend. I mean, yeah, and I've seen other people do ink blending on stamps literally with their blending brushes. I've seen it done in a variety of different ways, but I think it's just as easy to put the ink down and blot some of it up just to kind of blur out those lines where the colors mix and merge, because we want that beautiful blend. And of course, I'm just doing some fussy cutting. I've got one of the pairs of fun scissors that I have. I've purchased my fun scissors all from Amazon. If you just go on there and you just search for scissors, you'll see all kinds of ones. I actually have a pair in my Amazon cart right now that look like kind of like a medieval dagger. So we'll see if I end up pulling the trigger on those or not. And if I do, how will I use them in the craft room? I don't know. They might just be pretty in my scissor dish. We'll see. But anyway, fussy cut all my images, and then I'm going back and forth, how do I want to use them? Which tag do I want them on? Do I want them to blend into the background? Do I want them to stand out? And ultimately, this was what I chose. I added some more of the glitter paper in different spots. I added some of the background stamping onto the images themselves, especially the script. And I love the wings behind the skeleton. I think that's really cool. And I love that they all interrupt the boundaries of the tags themselves. And of course you could see I added some of that burlap lace to the bottom. So guys, those are my tags, my grungy goodness. Let me know what you think. Of course, as always, I ask that you would like and subscribe. Leave me a comment downstairs. And until next time, guys, this has been Nancy, the Handy Scandy. Thank you for spending some time with me. Mwah. I'm out for now.